Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Meltdown. Today we are talking about the latest studio album from Insomnium entitled Anno 1696. This is the 9th studio album from this long-running Finnish melodic death metal crew. I have to admit, I'm not really too familiar with a good chunk of their output. I'm most familiar with everything from Shadows of a Dying Sun onwards. But I have really enjoyed those albums. They were all solid, very well produced, very consistent, and in general, Insomnium is known for putting out high-quality material on a pretty consistent basis. To my knowledge, there are no major duds or disappointments or stinkers in their discography. No Saint Angers or Super Colliders or Illa Divinum Insanuses to speak of. With this in mind, I was relatively pumped, mildly enthused, appropriately excited, shall we say, for this brand new studio album, Anno 1996. I didn't really have any grand expectations, but, you know, I wasn't expecting an outright fucking pile of shit either. I went into an Insomnium album knowing very likely that it was going to be an Insomnium album, much like the last few Insomnium albums. And that's technically true. This is, you know, it's a very much an Insomnium album. There are definitely some twists and turns to be found, which we will discuss. But, you know, this doesn't stray too far from the template of the last few studio albums. You know, it's just as equally melancholic and majestic. Where the album really shines and really wows me and grabs my attention is actually in the concept and story and presentation, though. Anno 1696 deals heavily with the persecution of Scandinavian, Finnish and Swedish people throughout the 1600s going into the 1700s, all carried out by European Christians. It spends a great chunk of time lamenting and reflecting on the religiously and spiritually motivated carnage and bloodlust, while also diving deep into Scandinavian literature and mythology for further inspiration and guidance. Insomnium singer and bassist Niilo Savenen even goes as far as to cite inspiration from the Torsaker witch trials and tales of cannibalism and child murder, as well as the legendary Finnish novel Sudenmorsken, one of the only werewolf stories to emerge from this period of time intact. This epic and brutal and historical backdrop is frankly perfect for Insomnium's brand of melodeath, and it takes it to new heights that, to be honest, I didn't think were previously reachable. It's just kind of beautiful, to be blunt, and it doesn't take long for it to get beautiful either. Opening track 1696 dazzles and comforts with folksy, epic, rustic acoustic guitar gently laid down like blankets of fresh snow. It's so pretty and so sweet that it becomes genuinely jarring when the more ferocious and cold Scandinavian melodeath begins to rear its head. Good jarring, though. Like, there's a real anger and fire to this. Almost a bit of a black metal underbelly, dare I say, with some harsher riffing and some really cold and stark soundscapes. Expanding on that black metal underbelly, the following track, White Christ, goes as far as to employ Saki's Trolley from Rotting Christ. And throughout the track, he specifically froths and raves like a madman, like some kind of Scandinavian prophet gone insane. These more erratic and unhinged vocals can be a little off-putting at first, but when combined with everything else that the rest of Insomnium is vocally bringing to the table, it ends up making for a really interesting and cathartic kind of vocal display. There's a lot of versatility, it's dynamic, you've got these spoken word chants, you've got your standard death metal gutturals and screeches as well. It's genuinely enthralling, and Insomnium, very clearly knowing this, pull back on some of the more elaborate and majestic musicianship in favor of some more minimalistic chords and progressions. It does build up with some more triumphant melodies and bits and pieces and morsels near the end, but yeah, for the most part, this is dominated by the insane vocal prowess of Insomnium and of Saki's, and succeeds because of it. Though even so, that vocal prowess is nothing compared to Godforsaken, which is hands down my favorite cut on the record. There's just so much great stuff here. Amazing tremolo riffing, fantastic melodies and harmonies and orchestration. It's powerful, it's deep, it's moving. The star of the show, though, if we're being honest, has to be Johanna Kyrkela, a Finnish folk singer on backing vocals. I mean, she just goes off the fucking wall with this thing, bringing a lot of classic Scandinavian folk flavor here with her vocal presence. I mean, she just kind of builds all of these demented and anguished wails on top of this soaring kind of like blackened melodic death metal. For a moment, it feels otherworldly, like it feels celestial, dare I say, like I'm in the midst of some kind of ancient Scandinavian pagan ritual, and this happens to be the soundtrack. I'm reminded a little bit of what Mjolnir was doing on her last album, but also paired with some of the more classic black metal Mjolnir on like a record like M. A lot of other cool stuff on this record too, like Lillian, which has a little bit more like old school Swedish death metal kind of flavor. Like I'm reminded a lot of like early In Flames records like the Lunar Strain, the Subterranean EP. The Witch Hunter as well is a bit more brooding, a little bit more mid-paced. I almost have an image of like this armor-clad Scandinavian warrior fighting off the Christian invaders to this very song. I really like the Unrest too. It's this short, simple, sweet little folk ballad that I think, it provides a little bit of a palate cleanser. It also helps set up the closing number, the Rapids, quite nicely. I would make the argument that every song on this album could be trimmed just a little bit, but overall the thing wraps up in a relatively trim 50-minute runtime, so I've no reason to really complain. It's not like I was really squirming or getting antsy or anything like that. Yeah, I'm really impressed with this album. It's got a really cinematic scale and incredible production, like the mixing, mastering, everything is clear, everything is punchy, it's sharp as hell when it needs to be, it's clean and pretty and delicate when it needs to be, it does a great job balancing a lot of different tones, I like how urgent it is. I'm feeling a pretty solid 4 out of 5 here. I think longtime Insomnium fans will be pretty happy with this. I think anyone brand new to Insomnium would have a fucking ball with this. Anyone interested in Scandinavian history would probably get a kick out of this as well, because it actually seems pretty accurate, and it's a period of history that is not usually discussed at all, but especially not through music. It's the kind of thing to be right up your alley, actually, Anna.
Yeah, I like
you gonna
this
check
album.
this out?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't really have a ton more to say, so we're just going to start wrapping it up. Anno 1696, yeah, in many ways, it's Insomnium doing what they do, but in a lot of other ways, it's probably their most expansive and emotive album to date, and I appreciate that, and I dig the fuck out of it. So, yeah, booyah, hell yes, cool. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be. So what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.